Right now I'm getting ready to finish the first service on my 1400 Moto Guzzi Eldorado. Getting pretty close. Didn't catch the beginning part here, but I'm actually draining out some of the fluids right here. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. The main oil and the transmission oil here, the gearbox they call it, that oil is still draining out, and then we're going to be checking the valves and making any adjustments we need to here in a minute. So, all right, so here's the Eldorado. Got it up on the rack here, as you can see. A couple of things. I've already done this before starting the video here, but I'll see if I can get in here and show you what we're looking at. So right up under here, and it's hard to tell. See if I can get this to pan down just a little bit. If you can see that or not. So right in here is the drain valve for the oil pan. You can see it just inside of there. Right here. You can't see it there. And if you back out just a little bit, go up right here. So we've got the gearbox right here. That's the filler and the check spot. And then right under here is the drain plug. So we're actually getting ready to pull that one out right now and get those fluids draining as well. But stick with me, and we're going to be checking the valves up top. We're going to be taking a look at them right here and popping these covers off, changing the gaskets out, checking the valves, the spacing, and then also if they do need adjustment, we'll be adjusting them as well. All right, so currently taking the heads off. Pretty simple process, or the head covers, I guess I should say. Pretty simple process, 4 bolts on it. Take the bolts off, set them to the side, and then remove the cover. These big block Guzzis actually have 4 spark plugs, two per cylinder. To the side here. So 2 per cylinder, and pop those off. They come off pretty easily. Pop the cables out, and then just put them to the side for while you're working. Make sure you don't mix them up. Ooh, this was a little stuck in there. Make sure you don't mix them up when you're pulling them out, because obviously that's going to affect the firing order and how things operate. So be sure to separate those so you know which one's which. So here's just another look at the 2 spark plugs, top and bottom here. Like I said, you pull these out, take them to the side. Do be sure to know which one is which. And then to get the actual cylinder head here, there's 4 more bolts. These are a little tougher to get out than the first one. The first one's more just a cover, so it's see, it's sitting there. It's pretty easy to come out, both sitting there. But we'll crack this open, take a look, see what's inside there. All right, so leave it to Moto Guzzi to do this, but the spark plugs that are down in here, I don't have a deep enough socket to get them. So this is just a standard 5/8 deep well socket for intended purposes. A little rubber diaphragm in there. Its intended purposes for taking out spark plugs. Okay, so just getting back to the video here. It's been a couple days since I've been able to get back out here. I have drained all the fluids out. I've changed them all. That's pretty simple, so I'm not going to get into that. So now we're going to take a look at adjusting the valves, checking the spacing and then adjusting as needed. It's pretty simple. You'll find a lot of tutorials online that are going to tell you to lift the bike up, put it down into 6th gear, and then turn the rear wheel until you get the pistons in the right position. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret that a lot of people don't know, but it makes it a lot easier. So come down here with me. Okay, so the issue is that in order to lift the rear wheel on these large big block Guzzis, you've got to get something under here and you've got to lift it, and it's really kind of a pain to turn the wheel. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret that a lot of people don't know unless you're a full-fledged Guzzi enthusiast, and it's quite impressive. So come with me, I'm going to show you a little secret. Okay, so we're going to take a look here. If I can get you in here to see this. It's a little windy, so I apologize for that. But if you go just inside the wheel, between the two horns, you'll notice there's kind of a rubber gasket there. It's not bad looking. It's got a Guzzi symbol on it there. Let's see if I can get in here and pop this off. Sometimes it can be a little bit stubborn. So I'll get a screwdriver in there. There it goes. What you're looking at right here is, I believe it's the bolt on the alternator, but you can actually grab a hold of that with a 24mm and keep the engine in neutral so the back wheel can stay on the ground, and you can actually turn the engine to the position you want. So when you're working on the valves, take this off of here. So when we're working on the valves, we can basically get the engine position we want without having to lift the bike up and without having to turn the wheel, which, as I already said. Okay, so what I do here now is basically get the piston in the position we need it to be in, so we can actually check the valve gaps, the spacing, and then make any adjustments we need to make. So let me show you here. I use just a small wooden piece. It's kind of like a skewer for cooking on the grill or something. A lot of people use a straw. Typically you would use something that's just not very hard or abrasive. We don't want to make any indentations or damage the piston at all. So this works pretty well. So stick it down in there. And what we're looking for is that the piston is at the very, very top of the stroke here to check the valves. So we're in pretty good position there. As I said before, I think I showed you already, a wrench. So we take a 24mm socket. In this 24mm socket, we can actually hook it onto the bolt for the alternator, and we can turn it, and it will change the position of the engine without having to lift the rear wheel. So let's go ahead and change the position. Make sure we get it in the right spot. Okay. So the valves are opening and closing. So we don't want it to go all the way to the top. Yeah. Just in a small motion right there, I think, is where we want it to be. Yep. Alright, so we're going to get it back to the very top, as far up as it can go, right about there. So now that we got it in the position we need it to be in, you notice a 4-stroke engine, so we have the all the cycles that are going on in there. We want to make sure at the right one. You'll know, because this will not go all the way in and back out when we're trying to set these in the right position. So we're at the right point now. We get out our feeler gauges. So this particular engine is 0.15 millimeters and 0.2. I believe the 0.5, I have to check the manual here real quick, but I believe the 0.5 is on the intake side. Check that. Space there. Alright, so now we're just going to do a little test here. I've been kind of playing around with it a little bit already, but it looks like, if you look under here, we're just going to get a feeler gauge in here, just underneath, right in there. It's kind of hard to tell. Can get it right inside there. And what I'm using right now is about 0.18 millimeter. So this one I think is a little bit big on the spacing. We need to bring it down to 0.15. But what you should be looking for, obviously it's going to fit in there.
You want it to kind of slide around without getting caught, but you also don't want it to go in too easily. So it's kind of something you got to feel a little bit. Too tight, it's not going to go in there. Too loose, it's going to be moving around pretty freely. That's 0.18. It's kind of catching a little bit. So I think it's probably set right now at 0.18, but we're going to bring it back down to 0.15. Okay, so here's the view from up top here. Basically what we've got this 8mm, this bolt, this nut kind of holds it down in place, and then we loosen that up a little bit, and on the inside we can actually adjust the spacing. There you can kind of see this is a number 3 metric Allen wrench, so that's going to be our adjustment. Once we get it to where we want it to be adjusted, then we tighten it back down there with the set nut. Alright, so you kind of just get the feeler gauge in there, and then you adjust it until it gets just tight enough where you feel some friction. It's not getting caught, it's not moving super free. So just tight enough to get a little friction in there. Once you get it where you want it, take it out, you hold it in place, and then you tighten down the set. This little nut that kind of sets it in place and holds it. Get that tightened up here. Double check it one more time. Yeah, that's pretty good for 0.15 in the back there. Alright, so you do the same thing with each one of them.